Okay, friends, I'm Cyndi. Welcome to Gentle Yoga. Be using a strap as we've used in the past. That's optional, but it's nice to have, and a blanket for under our hips. It's also nice to have. I like to use the blanket for under my head and when we're lying down. We will be seated today. So the blanket's useful for under the hips. It really helps elevate the hips. So when we come to our cross-leg position, it's a little bit more comfortable on the hips and the knees, I find. Let's draw our shoulders up and then back and down and use that movement a couple times to just get a feel for lifting and sinking. Lifting on an inhale and sinking on an exhale. One more time, lifting. And keep the spine lifted, but sink the shoulders. Good. And then take the palms and rub them together. You'll feel a little warmth generated between the hands. Good. Go ahead and close your eyes. That feels safe and comfortable for you to do that. And then take the heat that we're generating from the hands, and we'll just place that right on top of the chest. So placing one hand on either side of the chest. We're going to take our attention inward here, imagining now that the hands are transmitting heat. We could also use the word energy into the lungs. So we're going to do a little journey inward and touch upon the 5 major organ systems, and starting with the lungs being the entry point into the entire system. Since the lungs are the only internal organ that are directly exposed to the external air, we want to start with the lungs as the gateway into the entire system. And imagining that we're sending healing energy into the lungs. And imagine the lungs taking that energy in and intelligently using that healing energy to restore and rejuvenate themselves, to help eliminate any metabolic waste or stagnant energies in the lungs, to support our capacity to take life in. Then let your hands kind of spill together towards the center of the spine, and then point the fingers down as the hands spill down the front of the spine, down below the navel, and imagine seeing energy sinking down into the roots of a tree, and then taking those hands and wrapping them around into the backside of the body and putting that energy into the kidneys. So you want to imagine again now energy pouring into the kidneys from the hands, and the kidneys taking in that energy. And let's add that energy, to that energy, our sense of appreciation, gratitude for the great job that the kidneys do in supporting us, building life force energy, something called Jing, our life force and our vital physical energy for taking action. And then we'll move the hands back to the front of the kidneys, and then together with the right hand on top, we'll move the hands over to the right side of the rib cage. And here we are at the liver, and we want to again imagine sending energy to the liver and letting the liver receive that blessing of our attention, and not just our attention, but our appreciation and our gratitude and our reverence for the things known and unknown that the liver does for detoxifying our body, keeping us alive. And then let the hands come up and over the right side of the chest and slide to the left side of the chest, and taking a pause right over the heart and sending our appreciation into the heart and imagining the heart, receiving that, acknowledging that, basking in that attention and that appreciation, and being rejuvenated by being seen and called out to bring its best forward. And then let the hands slide down to the left side of the rib cage. Now place the left hand on top of the right, and we'll hold the hands at the spleen, pancreas, stomach, all part of the same system, related to and is responsible for our digestion. So we want to have great appreciation for our body's ability to digest not only our food, but our thoughts and our emotions and our exchanges in our relationships. We're digesting lots and lots of information these days. Good, and then draw the hands back towards the navel, under the navel, into what's called the yin space. Good, and holding our hands at the yin space. Let's bring our attention to below the yin space, into the legs. And we're going to use the analogy of a tree in our visualization today, as we imagine the legs are the roots of the tree. And they're not just sitting above ground cross-legged, but imagine that we're sinking our roots into the earth. So your legs are sinking 6, 8, 10, 12 inches into the earth. The moistness of the rich, nutrient-dense earth rising up the legs into the trunk of our tree, which is our torso. And we'll draw our hands up the center of the spine, up the trunk of our tree, back up to the center of the chest. Good, and imagine now the arms being the branches of the tree. We're going to let the hands cross over to the opposite shoulder, taking that heart energy down the arms. Slide your hands down the opposite arm. Good, and as the hands come together, you're going to extend them out to the side and extend and stretch the branches of your arms. Turn the palms up and then look up, slightly tilting the head back, opening the eyes, and then reaching the arms up. Good, and gathering the light of the sun into the branches of the arms. Good, and gather that light down from the branches. Good, down. Good, once again, crossing the hands at the chest. Let the hands rest onto the front of the shoulders, and then brush down the arms again, bringing that energy into the torso and down into the roots of our tree. Slide the hands around to the kidneys. Good, down the low back, across the sacrum, and down and underneath the legs, over the top of the knees, and to the ankles. Go ahead, separate your ankles and bring the soles of your feet together. Interlace your fingers around your toes, pull your heels in, sitting upright. And we'll gently rock the spine forward and back. Just a gentle rocking motion, and feeling this nice little opening in the gates of the hips. It's very gentle forward and back movement with the pelvis. Feeling that move into a stretch up the front of the spine as you slightly arch forward, and then as you tilt the pelvis back, rounding the spine, even tucking the chin in, stretching the back of the neck, and inhale and exhale. Good. This is one form of spinal breathing, starting to move energy from the roots of our tree upward. Good. Now bring your knees back together. Good. And let's bring both knees over towards the couch. And then sliding the top knee back. We're going to move into a stretch for the top of the thigh or the quadricep. Your hand will slide back to the ankle and then draw that foot back a little further if that's safe for you. That's option 2. Option 1 is to stay here. Option 2 for a little more, if you have the flexibility, draw the foot back. Feel that stretch lengthening down the front of the thigh, and then taking the opposite hand, reaching it behind the shoulder. You're going to, as you keep your hand atop the thigh, pushing down and into the top of the thigh, straighten the arm. Good. And then rotate your shoulders and look in the opposite direction. Nice. Now, as we're in these different stretches throughout our sequence, we want to still imagine that we're sinking our roots into the earth and rising up out of the roots into the torso and the branches. So as we think and move our attention simultaneously in 2 opposing directions, we stretch our awareness across our body, and we also integrate the yin and the yang, if you will. You could also refer to it as the psyche and the soma. And gently coming out of that stretch, come back to neutral. Place the knees where it feels comfortable for you for a forward fold. In this forward fold, you're welcome to keep your blanket under your seat or bring yourself down so your sits bones are directly in contact with the earth. And as we move into this forward fold, we'll be centering our shoulders right between our knees. And you can begin just stretching the arms forward. You can also use your block or your bolster, your pillow or your bolster here if you need a little extra something to elevate the arms up. Put the hands on top and then gently keep rolling forward until you feel like you found that edge where you want to take a pause and just feel into what's here to be acknowledged in terms of resistance and sensation. And then let the breath circulate into all these areas that are calling our attention to us through sensation. It's helpful to close your eyes as you do that. If you can draw your attention now more inwardly. When our eyes are open, we take in a lot of visual noise and distractions from our environment. So just by closing the eyes, we're claiming and calling our energy back home into our body, and then we can visually see energy returning into the body and direct it using our intention and attention into the area of our body that's maybe struggling the most with this stretch, or maybe resisting the most, or feeling inhibited. And we'll stay here for a couple more breaths, breathing intentionally into those more resistant areas. Some of you may be all the way down on the floor here, if that flexibility is warranted. Others may be up a little higher, and all is well. Tuning into your unique relationship to this stretch, and then begin to walk the hands back up. Good. And taking the hand closest to the wall, we're going to roll almost like we're brushing down the top of the thigh, curving around the knee and coming down to the ankle, tracing the roots. Now press down into that foot and come off the foot so the hand is on the floor, and then take the opposite arm and come over the top for a side bend. Good. To get a little bit more here out of this, let's imagine we're between 2 plates of glass. We're going to press our palm into a plate of glass right in front, and then roll our shoulder back and look up. And you can just feel the difference in that stretch as we really narrow into a single plane here. Good, tightening that plane, sliding in between those planes of glass. Now let the arm rise up, look up, and this hand now will come to be the support hand behind. And then draw the opposite arm forward, palm up, and then bring the arm up, look up, and stretch back. That's option one. Option two is to bring a little bit more of an extension into the spine by lifting the hips up, come up onto the knees and reach back. Now, if it's too much on your neck, just keep your head straight instead of tipping the back of the head back. Just work with what is available to you in your neck flexibility here. Feeling into the front body stretch. Good. Now as we come down, let's come down with grace and ease, so we're not rushing in or out of any pose or stretch, but we're just moving gently in and out of these stretches and then drawing the knees together. Setting up for the other side. Let's bring the knees together, roll to the other side, and take the hand, push down onto the knee, and then separate the knees, slide down off the foot. And this can be your quad stretch here, or if you want a little more, take that ankle and press back. Good. Keep the spine lifting, rising up here. Good. Now, if you would like to, take the hand on top of the thigh, push down and straighten the arm, and then turn the shoulders and look in the opposite direction. That's the way, breathing now into what feels alive in the moment. What's calling your attention? Again, you're always welcome to close the eyes as you need to go deeper into the felt sense of what's arising. Good, coming out of that, deepening and into a softening at the center, positioning the feet where you'd like them to be to create the comfortable distance between the knees for our forward fold. Have your blanket ready or your pillow if you'd like that support. Let's bring the palms up, elbows back, and really scrub the ribs with the elbows as we push back, lift, and then reach back like you're stretching through the branches. Really open up the pathways through the arms, the tendons, getting a nice stretch, flexing at the wrists. Draw the arms up, inhale. Good, and then palms together, coming down to the center, hinging forward from the hips, and then place the hands right out in front, shoulder width apart. And as you're ready, start to draw the navel back to the spine as you lengthen the crown of the head away from the tailbone, settling in here to the forearms, up onto the palms with straight arms, or all the way down into this forward fold. See if you can get the sense of having your torso centered between your knees. You might even feel as the chin comes towards the sternum, the back of the neck getting some length here. Good, and deepening the breath. See if you can find those two opposing directions in this stretch, placing your attention in both directions and simultaneously in the space between. So for example, we have our tailbone reaching back, our crown reaching forward, and in between we have the full length of our spine, opening up each vertebrae. Stay here for a couple more breaths. And then slowly rising up, using the support of the combination of your core strength and your upper body strength to lift you up. Good, let's take the hand and brush down the top of the thigh. Imagine as you're brushing down, there's still heat in your hand. Transmit that heat into the muscle. See the muscle lengthening. See your body like a block of clay. You're sculpting it, pulling that line of energy down, smoothing out everything that's bumpy or rocky or gritty, and then taking the arm up, looking upward, and coming across into our side bend. There we go. And now it helps to have that dimension here of the planes. Imagining you're between those two plates of glass. You're going to press out, getting a nice stretch on the bottom of the wrist. Push. Good. And then press the shoulder back. Elbow, shoulder, wrist in a single plane. Looking up if that's safe for your neck, or looking down if that's more comfortable. Try to keep both knees registered as roots into the earth, sinking and feeling the pull of the earth, drawing you towards its center. Good. So as the roots are pulling us downward into the earth, the branches are drawing us upward, and we feel the effect in the torso along the spine, being pulled in two directions, creating that opening along the vertebrae. Now come on up with a neutral spine out of the back bend, and then taking the hands and changing directions, placing the support hand behind. Take the top hand forward, push up, and lean back, opening the front of the spine. Good. Here's your chance as an option to go deeper for those who want it. Use the support of the back arm as your prop to support that upper body weight as you lift onto the knees. Good. Press the pelvis forward and tipping backward. The hand can come behind the head to support the head here. The elbow moving back. Breathing up the front of the spine. Feeling a nice extension and an opening across the hips. Good, and slowly come back into your seated position. And releasing the arm, drawing those knees together. And once again, separate the knees, bring the soles of the feet together, and we'll close this short sequence with the space we began in. Baddha Konasana, now elbows bending in towards the ribs as you hinge forward, clasping your fingers around the toes, and reach the crown of the head towards me. Feel your tailbone reaching to the back wall. Feel the breath lengthening along the spine. Good. Not only can we use our hands to mold the clay of the body, but we can use our mind and our imagination to do that as well. As we rise up out of our forward fold, let's draw the knee closest to the wall, up and out with the leg extending. Good. We'll draw both arms overhead. Breathe in. And as we fold, we'll hinge forward and exhale. Your strap is optional here. If you'd like to, you can use a strap, place it around the sole of the foot or the arch of the foot, your choice. Rising up with the spine nice and flat in staff pose. Begin here. Scrub the ribs with the elbows. Draw the crown up, and then let the crown continue to be drawn, but this time towards the foot as you flex. Hinging at the hips. Good. Taking the arms into position where it feels appropriate for your level of flexibility. And settle in for 5 full breaths here. Using the mind and the breath as an imaginary tool for lengthening the muscles, relaxing the joints, and circulating the energy. Use your own creative visual images to do that. Sending a message to the body that you're here, you're present, you're being playful and creative, and finding ways to nourish it with more flow, more of what it needs, simultaneously helping remove more of what it doesn't need. Good. Not only are we focusing on sustaining the body and rejuvenating it, but actually reversing some of the damage that the waste, the metabolic waste does to the body, the activity that we've done that might have been too much at one point. Come on up on an inhale. Good. Again, scrub the ribs with the elbows, palms up. This time, rotate the wrists so the fingers reach in, and we'll do that stretch again for the shoulders and the chest. Good, you're in staff pose, but this time, instead of arms overhead, they're reaching back. Now, if you'd like to, you can interlace your fingers behind your back. Good. And then square the shoulders so that they are square to the opposite knee. Lift the arms overhead. Good. Interlace the fingers, bend the elbows, and then rotate the wrists so that they're facing heaven. Push up through the heels, the hands. Good. And now side bend towards the extended leg. Good. Letting that bottom hand and arm drop to the floor with the elbow to the inside of the knee, reaching in our side bend towards that extended leg. Flex the foot. And again, push the palm and the wrist forward. Pull the shoulder and the elbow back. So you're feeling a dynamic movement in the arm. There's some tension there because the hand is pushing one way, the shoulder an opposite way. So we create this tension here to stretch the tendons and the ligaments of the arm. Good, as we're bending into the side and feeling aliveness through the entire side body. Keep the breath and the imagination working simultaneously into the areas of most awareness right now, which is generally where there's the most sensation, the most sensitivity. And we're engaging with our sensitivity, celebrating our sensitivity, not being a victim of our sensitivity. Come on up on an inhale. Nice and slow, using the oblique muscles to do the lifting, and come around and scoop that knee into the chest. Good. Let's go ahead and bring the knees together again. Good. And back to the center. We keep going back into our bound angle pose here, Baddha Konasana, to open up the hips gently. If it feels good, go ahead and just do a little bit of a stirring here. Good, a little fluttering here, rolling the shoulders back, lifting the spine, expanding the chest, hinging forward, keeping the elbows bent, and lengthening into the spine, deepening the breath. Practicing our capacity to stretch our imagination, bringing our attention to 2 opposing points of reference, the tailbone and the top of the head. Notice they're moving in opposing directions. Hold that in your awareness, and simultaneously, without letting go of that in your awareness, also put your attention on the space between each vertebrae opening up as a result of the opposing directional movement of the spine. Feeling the natural traction happen that you've created through a combination of movement, stillness, attention, and breath. Come up on an inhale, slowly. Good. Let's go ahead and draw that knee in closest to the couch. Extend the leg. Find the position here. It's going to support you. In position, draw the hands. Palms up, elbows back again, reaching. Keep rolling through the wrists, the elbows, the shoulders. Move through the joints of the upper body. Move through the joints of the branches. Major gates in the body. Take the hands either interlace the fingers or keep the hands extended with the fingers separated wide so you feel some tension in the hands. Good. So either one works. Do what works for you. This extension here with the fingers interlaced, you can create a little leverage that way that you can't with just the hands reaching back. So play with what works for you. Sitting upright, flexing the foot. Good. Now release the arms, palms up. Inhale, looking up. Interlace the fingers, bend the elbows, bring the hands down, and when they get to the third eye, turn and push up. Feel the spine lifting with that and hinging forward from the hips. Take it as far as you can, and when you need to, you can release the arms and take your strap. If you're using a strap, placing it around the ball of the foot is nice because that helps to flex that ankle as you draw the toes back. You can also place it on the arch. Never feels good. Pulling the hands back so that the elbows come to the ribs. The ribs, we want to kind of pull the ribs inward here as we hinge forward. Good. Imagine now the crown of the head reaching towards the toes as the foot is flexed. It's flexed to a point where you almost feel the back of, the back and behind the ankle lifting off the floor a little bit because it's flexing so much that it's contracting a little bit into the calf muscle and lifting that little foot a little bit off the floor. Good, and see the muscles of the entire back side of the leg lengthening as a result of that. As we continue to lengthen the upper body into our fold. Softening as much as we can in the shoulders. And then employing that imagination and breath, the utility of our intuitive sense of what's needed in the moment. So realizing that in our imagination, every tool is available to us in every moment. There's nothing ever missing or lacking in the imagination other than our remembering to use it. And the realization that our body doesn't know the difference between a real or imagined experience is the key to why it's effective. Taking 2 more breaths here. Stay with these deep forward folds for calming and toning the nervous system and giving the body's inhibition to settle down and relax so we can get into the deeper patterns of resistance and create a little space there. Rising up here with the core strength. Bring your attention now into energy, rising up the roots into the trunk. Good. Again, let's bring the hands back, interlace the fingers. Now square the shoulders to the bent knee. Lift the arms overhead. Pushing up and folding into our side bend on this side. We want to tuck our lower arm under and release the hand to the inside of the lower leg to make sure that we tuck that lower shoulder under as we push into that plane of glass in front and roll into the plane of glass behind for our side bend. Good, trying to keep our bent knee to the floor. Good, the gaze can either look upward or downward, depending on what supports our neck flexibility and strength. Side bends are excellent for helping to propel the lymph fluid. Moving in lateral positions, supporting the body and moving in all directions along the spine that we can. Keep that lymph fluid moving. The lymph fluid moves all the way through the entire body, even into the brain. It's an important cleansing mechanism. With the majority of the fluid in our body is lymph. We'll come on up using a combination of core strength through the obliques. Good. And staying rooted in the legs. Drop the arm. Good. Bending the knee. Good. And one more time, bringing that foot in. Soles of the feet together. Before we go into reclined stretches, we'll finish with another forward fold here. Now, let me mention here another option. Obviously, I should have mentioned this before, I apologize, is to go ahead and straddle the legs and do a forward fold this way if it's just too much on the hips. Or you can do simple cross leg as well. Elevating the hips is always an option using your blanket or your pillow. So let this last juicy hip stretch be the version that you can most settle into and feel a sense of gifting yourself with a pleasurable experience rather than something that we're trying to force or work at. Bring the version of your root system into the position that feels most delightful here as a kind of gift to yourself for moving through and crossing over this threshold from the seated upright section of our class into our reclined section coming up. Feel that breath moving into the upper back and stretching the intercostals. Good, let's round the spine here as we're moving into kind of this more pleasurable, relaxed sort of surrender into a decompression of the spine. We want to tuck the chin to the chest, lengthen the back of the neck, so slowly begin to roll up the spine, leaning back, sliding those knees together, and extending the legs straight. Now extend the legs straight in the direction that you can so that you have plenty of room to roll back into a reclined position. We'll do a forward fold as we prepare. We'll rise up with the arms, rise up with the branches of our tree. Feel the roots still sinking deep into the earth. And then we're going to let the whole tree sort of fold in on itself and circulate all of that internal medicine. This is also a place where you can use your strap if that's helpful. And taking some deep breaths here, feeling into what's rising up in your awareness. As we prepare to move into the reclined version of our sequences today, we want to acknowledge that we're passing through a threshold from engaging with a vertical reality or relationship to our body and our environment into a horizontal plane with different dimensional experiences available to us on the different planes. Now, as we rise up, we use our core strength and awareness, drawing the navel to the spine, rising up, sitting up, nice and slow. Letting the spine stack one vertebrae at a time on top of itself. Now, for those that need to, you can bend your knees here so that when you start to recline back, you have support for your back. Let your arms come up shoulder level, rise up, and sink back. Good. So as we go into and from a vertical to a horizontal plane, we're moving through our center, right? We're moving through the middle plane, that transverse plane, and we're going to lower down slowly and work the core strength at the center. So this is just a gentle rocking, but it involves the strength of our core. Now, for those that need a little extra support, let your hands stay rested on the floor or just tucked underneath the thighs. Tilting back and rising up. And starting to feel the heat build in the center. We want that heat. Good. For those that want to, we can trace the roots with the hands, drawing up the back of the legs as we lower, going down and over the front of the legs. Good, like bathing the roots, cleaning out the root system of our tree, circulating that energy, now pulling it all the way up and into the torso as we lower down. Take the hands over the pelvis and then draw the hands up the center of the spine and rest them on the chest for a moment. Adjusting as you need to feel like your head is supported, your body weight is supported here. Before we go into our horizontal movement sequence, we're just going to pause and notice what we notice. You might notice your back giving you a little feedback from the back. Go ahead, if that's the case, bend your knees. Adjusting the position as you need to. And then let your hands float off your chest, reach around and grab underneath the thighs, pull the knees to the chest, and settle in here, feeling as though there's a nice opening at your lumbar spine, the back of your pelvic bowl, that pelvis, that sacrum, sinking into the earth and being nourished by the depth. Go ahead and roll through the ankles, reverse direction. Good. Now let your hands climb up to the top of the knees, separate the knees a little and circle the hips. By circling the knees, reverse direction, circle the other way. Good. And then let the feet come down and slowly extend your right leg. Keep your left knee bent. Now externally rotate the left hip so the left knee folds open into the left side. Draw the arms over the head, extending through the reach. Flexing the foot on the right side. Interlace your fingers. Good. Bring your hands behind your head. Lift your head looking up and to the right big toe as you flex that foot. Feel the core. Good. Push the elbows back. Good. And taking that left elbow towards the left knee in a side bend. Slowly lower the upper body and get a nice stretch on the right side. Good. Turning the right toe and ankle so that the arch of the foot folds towards the floor and your right toes point towards your left knee. That's the way. Now coming out of the side bend, neutral spine, rolling back into the shoulders, the spine is neutral, taking that left foot, stacking it on top of the right thigh. Good. Bring your chin to your chest. Use your back, the hands at the back of your head to support you as you lift the upper body, look up, and then bend that right knee and bring that knee in towards the chest. Good, now extend the arms and place the palms down on the floor. Let your upper body relax, rest your head, and we'll gently let the legs rock from side to side. So both legs with the feet in position as they are, flexed, and from the knee to the ankle at a 90 degrees. Rotate the pelvis to the right and just hang there for a moment without letting the feet come to the floor. Just hang there in the space on the right side. Feel your core strength support this, and then come back to the center and do the same thing, rolling across the low back and pelvis. Good. We're going to continue this. We're going to move into working the fascia here. The fascia is like the cellophane around the muscles. It's what holds the water element in the body. We want to feel a nice massage here. In the fascia of our roots. Good. Keeping the body hydrated and supported through movement and breath. One more on each side. Come back to the center. Good. And let that right leg slowly relax so the foot comes about 2 inches off the floor. And then pull the knee back in. We'll do that a couple times as well. Lower and lift. Good. One more time. Now take the hands as we traditionally do, slide them through, clasping the fingers underneath the thigh, draw that knee in, and feel a little deepening stretch on the left leg now. Roll through both ankles, reverse direction. And any of these postures and movements can be modified based on your own need and intuitive sense of what that is. Chin to chest, lifting the shoulders off the mat. See if you can take your forehead towards your knee. Get a nice tight stretch in here. Good. Now unclasp the fingers from behind the thigh and place them behind the head. Straighten both legs and bring your attention up towards your toes with your gaze. Good. Now bring your toes back towards your nose and release. Good. This can be done with the knees bent, and tuck and release. Let's do a couple more. Really targeting that core strength. Stretching out that lumbar spine. Pull, tuck, release the arms. Come underneath and stretch. And let that upper body relax. Very good. Good. Keep your left knee tucked, releasing the right leg. Place the foot to the floor, slowly extend the leg. Release the left leg and slowly extend the leg. Draw the arms overhead, take a breath in. Reaching up, rotating through the wrists and the ankles, reverse direction. Good, tucking that right knee into the chest. And placing the foot to the floor, we'll slowly externally rotate the hip. Let the right knee draw open to the right. Good. Let the arms reach overhead, interlace the fingers. Good. Stretching and pushing the heels of the hands away from the top of the head. Now lift the head and slide the hands underneath, flexing that left foot and looking at the left big toe. Push the elbows back, engage the core. Good. Keep pushing the elbows back. Take your side bend towards the right elbow towards the right knee. Gazing upward at the ceiling and then releasing the upper body to the floor. Feel the side bend and then internally rotate the right hip so that the right toe turns towards the floor and towards the right knee as you collapse the right arch into the floor. Good, just noticing the oddness of this stretch. Noticing the body's response to something new and different. Come out of that side bend, come to neutral spine. Good. Come to neutral hip, and then placing that right foot on top of the left thigh. Draw the knee bent. Lifting that left foot, chin to chest, lifting the upper body, tuck in nice and tight. Hold. Good, extend the arms, push the palms down, release the upper body to the floor. Good, flexing both feet. Good, and rocking. Across the back of the sacrum and pelvis. Side to side, massaging parts of the body that rarely get touched here. With our awareness, with our attention, with our breath. Go at your own pace and enjoy this. I hope that this will be something you can do other times when you feel like you need. Just create a little bit more circulation and support for the root system. Now come back to the center and just rock that lower body down and away a couple times, tucking in and releasing away. 2 more. And then take the hands, slide through, thread the needle, interlace the fingers, pull in, get a nice stretch. A little deeper than before, but not too deep. Checking in with that fascia, chin to chest, lifting the upper body, bringing the forehead towards the knee. Good, release the hands, support the back of the head now, push the elbows back, straighten both legs, uncross the legs, look up at the toes, flexing and pointing, flexing and pointing. You can bend the knees here, flex and point, flex and point. Good, tuck in and release. Good, tuck everything in towards the center and then move it slightly away. 2 more times, engaging that core. 1, tight, 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 release. And 2, hug, hug, hug. Hands around the knees, scoop it in and release. Upper body to the floor. Good. Hands come back to the knees, gently circling the knees. Reverse direction. Soles of the feet, finding the floor, and then finding each other as we open up the hips again in a reclined version of our Round angle pose. Let's take a nice stretch out. Recline. Baddha Konasana here, feeling nice openness along the inside of our root system. Still imagining energy rising up the trunk of our tree through our spine and branching out our arms. Good, let the arms float slightly away from the body with the palms turned up. Find your support, your bolster if you need it for under your knees for our relaxation. You can keep your knees bent or straighten your legs. Find the right support for under your head and just jiggle the body around in a way that feels like you're settling into the perfect spot, the sweet spot for letting go, surrendering to what is in this moment, and letting yourself become the breath, letting the breath become you. Bring your attention to your hands and feet, creating some movement to land the attention back into the body. Good, feel your roots strong and sturdy, anchored deep into the earth, connected to the core. See the torso connected to the roots, strong and sturdy. And see the branches of your arms rising up towards heaven, towards the sun, the light of the sun, the moon, the stars, all those energies and sources of light. Bringing heaven down to earth and earth up to heaven. Hug the knees into the chest. Give yourself a nice squeeze and feel yourself as a strong and sturdy but mobile tree force on the planet, connecting heaven and earth. Gently rock from side to side and then roll onto your side facing me. And just take a moment on your side to prepare yourself to come back to the vertical plane. Rising up from the horizontal, slowly coming into a seated position to close our practice today. Cross the legs if that's comfortable. Find your cushion, needed for the hips. Be here for just a minute, not too long. Back to rubbing the hands together. Create some energy. Bring that energy back to the chest. This time cross the arms over the chest. Brush down the arms. Brush across the navel to the kidneys. Good. Down the back, side and underside of the knees. To the ankles, back up the center of the body. Brush up the front of the neck and over the base. Behind the head, behind the neck, and come back. Good. One palm to the heart, the other on top. Take the thumb of the top hand, push it into the palm of that top hand. Push out, stretch the top of the wrist. Good. Bring and scrub that elbow back towards the rib. Now push the fingers of that hand into the fingers of the opposite hand as you outstretch the arm. And then take and cross the wrists. Interlace the fingers. Pull the hands to the heart. Cross the hands over the shoulders, down the arms, scooping around the navel, back to the kidneys, tracing. Nice line of energy, supporting and connecting all of the meridians and all of those internal organs. Bring the hands over the head, behind the neck, brushing out, around the back of the neck. Good. Bring the palms to the chest again and switch hands. Opposite hand on top, thumb pushing in. Press out, stretch the top of the wrists. That's the way. Elbow back, stretch and top to the fingertips, stretching the underside of the wrist. Take that hand, crossing that wrist on top of the other, interlace the fingers. Bring the hands in. Up to the heart, uncross the arms, take the hands to opposite shoulders and down into the lap. Pause for a moment and just feel the fullness of what you've created. Heaven above, earth below, connected in the body, as above, so below. Arms scoop back one more time through the wrists, through the elbows, through the shoulders, backs of the hands together, out in front of the heart. Pull in and bring the palms together. Bow forward. Namaste. Thank you for your presence today. I hope you go out in the world, be a strong tree.